Dr. Harrison, the first chair, was a highly regarded cardiologist and innovator in medical education who wrote the landmark textbook Principles of Internal Medicine while at UT Southwestern. An Alabama native, he left Dallas in 1950 to become chair of medicine at the University of Alabama School of Medicine in Birmingham. Harrison was succeeded by Dr. Charles Burnett, an expert in metabolism and kidney disease who first described the clinical syndrome that bears his name. Recruited to UT Southwestern from Boston, Burnett would stay in Dallas just 1 year, leaving in 1951 to become the first chair of the Department of Medicine at the University of North Carolina. The future of the Department of Internal Medicine, and indeed of UT Southwestern, did not look bright when the young man who would become the department's third chair, Dr. Donald Seldin, a nephrologist from Yale, arrived in Dallas in 1951.
I was offered a position here by Dr. Charles Burnett, who was at that time chairman of the Department of Medicine. I was at Yale at the time, where I was an assistant professor of medicine. Now, I was also rather naive, and I never came to Dallas to see physically what the place was like. We corresponded, we met once or twice, but I never came to Dallas. And when I finally agreed to come, I arrived here with my car, my wife, and my daughter, and I stopped at Oak Lawn Avenue and Maple and asked an attendant where Southwestern Medical School was. And he gestured in a vague direction toward a railway overpass and indicated that the school was beside it. There I went, and all I found was a bunch of shacks with garbage on the floor behind a decayed brick building. And I didn't see anything that looked like a medical school. So I went back to the gas station attendant and I said, I went where you indicated, and all I saw was garbage and a bunch of shacks. And he said, that's it, that's the medical school.
Despite the meager surroundings, Seldin decided to stay. But his plans and career would make a dramatic turn not long after he arrived, when he met one day with Dr. Burnett.
I came to his office to tell him that a paper of mine had been accepted for presentation at the American Society of Clinical Investigation in Atlantic City. This was a high honor and I was excited. He congratulated me and told me, by the way, he had just received an offer from North Carolina, and in 2 or 3 months he was gone.
A number of other key physicians would also soon depart for positions at various institutions around the country, leaving Seldin and the Department of Medicine in a solitary position.
Looking around, there was the garbage, the shacks, the old parkland, a wasteland.
Seldin knew what the department lacked, but he was also wise enough to know what assets the department offered.
We had a very loyal clinical faculty, that is, individuals in private practice who gave of their time and effort to the medical school. The major asset we had was students. We didn't have much in the way of resources to recruit established people. So one of the plans that I embarked on was to send promising students away with the idea that they would get their training elsewhere and come back.
The list of students Seldin would recruit is a who's who of some of the leading figures in UT Southwestern's distinguished history. These students would eventually help vault the Department of Internal Medicine and UT Southwestern to national and international prominence.
Gene Wilson, for example, went to the National Institutes of Health and studied endocrinology and metabolism. Jerry Mitchell went to the National Institutes of Health and took his training in cardiology. Dan Forster went to the National Institutes of Health and studied metabolism. Floyd Rector went to the National Institutes of Health and studied nephrology and electrolyte metabolism. Norman Kaplan went to the National Institutes of Health and studied high blood pressure and things like that. So over a period of about a year or two, about 5 of our students were seated in major laboratories with the idea that they would return to Dallas. We couldn't force them to, but when I talked to them and encouraged them to go and made the arrangements with them, the understanding was that they would return to the department after their clinical training, and they did.
The return of the students not only boosted the quality of the faculty and the department, they helped Seldin cement a vision he thought necessary to operate a first-rate academic medical department.
Since they were students here, they were acquainted with a model that I wanted to set forth, where the faculty would have MD degrees in the main, that they would make general medical ward rounds, and that they would at the same time develop research programs in their area of expertise.
In addition to the students who returned, several more established faculty members were recruited to UT Southwestern, including renowned rheumatologist Morris Ziff and cholesterol expert Marvin Sipperstein, among others.
Carlton Chapman was recruited to head up cardiology. Abe Browdy was recruited to head up infectious disease. William Miller was recruited to head up pulmonary disease. So in a sense, there was an admixture of more established people who, for one reason or another, I was able to recruit here, as well as our students who came back. Several years later, this would be after these individuals were more or less settled, I wanted to develop a genetics program for the Department of Medicine. There was very little clinical genetics in the United States. And we had an outstanding medical student, Joe Goldstein. And I talked to him and tried to encourage him to go on a program of genetic training and then come back to the medical school and set up a program here. He encouraged a colleague of his, Michael Brown, to join him. Michael Brown came here as a gastroenterologist, but subsequently joined up with Joe to continue the work they had begun at the Massachusetts General Hospital, and 2 of them subsequently won a Nobel Prize for their work on cholesterol metabolism. Gradually then, the Department of Medicine was developed in the model that I mentioned.
That model produced a strong sense of esprit de corps and mutual support throughout the department.
Since a great many of the faculty were our former students or house officers or fellows, there was a certain sense of collegiality and warmth. The style of medicine that we developed here was cordial to them. They had grown up as students or house officers in that atmosphere, and we developed, I would say, a warm relationship throughout the department.
But it wasn't just the faculty where Seldin made a significant mark. He was also heavily involved in revamping the curriculum to make it more relevant and appealing to students.
I thought that the most important single thing we could do is to bring the faculty in close proximity with the students and house staff. We had lecture programs, but they were reduced to a minimum and designed for orientation purposes. The core of the teaching program in medicine was the small group teaching on awards.
In 1987, Dr. Seldin stepped down as chair of internal medicine after one of the longest tenures in a major leadership post in American medical history. The timing seemed right on several levels.
I had been chairman for about 38 years or thereabouts. with a new hospital and perhaps new direction, it seemed to me sensible to step down. I had done more or less everything that I thought I could accomplish, and I thought this was a good time. The greatest satisfaction I have is the students, house staff, and fellows who have left the department and been distinguished in both academic medicine and clinical practice.